Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's AUDJPY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Tonight's webinar is Forex Trading Live Market Analysis. Just to give you a heads up, tomorrow evening I'll be going through understanding market structure, introduction to price action. If you want to join me for that webinar, just head over to our webinar page and register your interest. All right, before we move along tonight, if everybody can read through the disclaimer, that would be great. Any questions to the chat box or the Q&A box? If you're on our YouTube live stream, I can't see the chat, but I've given you a link to join us in the webinar if you want to talk to me. So just use the link coming into the webinar, and then you can chat to me using the chat box or the Q&A box. So just take a moment or two to read through the disclaimer before we move along. All right, let's move along. Now, for those that don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at AUDJPY Securities. And I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading the Forex market now for more than 20 years, mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email's there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And through the week, you can connect with me at our website, which is acy.com. Go to the Market News tab. At AUDJPY Securities Australia on YouTube. And if you want to connect with me personally, just head over to my Linktree page and you can connect with me there. When I get access to the charts, I'm using an MT4. Just contact nathan.bray's emails on screen. And for those in the webinar, I'll just put his details in the chat. All right, so let's get into, firstly, the news items for the week. So I'm at forexfactory.com. And let's get to the beginning of the week here. Time shown on my time, Queensland time. I'll just go through the red items. So, of course, President Trump here is speaking. And I will just need to, all right, that's better. I was looking at last week's earlier in the day. Just want to look at some of the details that came out at the latter end of the week. I was wondering why Tuesday looked like it was already passed. All right, so just refreshing. This is starting Sunday, January the 6th. That's this week. Time shown on my time. Just going to go run through the red calendar events. So Tuesday the 28th, coming up this evening. We do have some US news, but it's just minor news. Into tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the morning, we have the USCB consumer confidence figures coming out. Then at 10:30 in the morning on Wednesday, we have the Aussie CPI data. Of course, the Australian people will be looking closely at that, wanting an interest rate cut at some point soon. So the market will be looking at other figures coming down. Is that going to mean that we might get an interest rate cut from the RBA? Moving into Thursday, just past the midnight for the pound, we got the Bank of England Golden Base speaking, 12:15. 12:45 for Canada. The BOC Monetary Policy Report, rate statement, overnight rate, expecting a 25 basis point cut there. Press conference at 1:30 in the morning, so it'll be volatile for Canadian crosses there. Then, of course, at 5 in the morning, we have the federal fund rate FOMC statement and press conference. Not expecting a change there in the US interest rates, but they'll obviously be looking to see what the Fed says in the statement and the press conference. Of course, last time we had the press conference statement, there was a little bit of a dovish tone, maybe not going to be having as many interest rate cuts as previously discussed, but will that tone change or remain the same? 11:15 p.m. we have then from the Eurozone main refinancing rate monetary policy statements, expecting here a 25 basis point cut. So usually from 11:15, probably for a good hour, it gets volatile in this window. 11:30 p.m. we have the US advanced GPQQ, unemployment claims, and then 11:45 following the interest rate decision with the Eurozone ECB press conference. Okay, and then moving into Friday, we have all day This can be released at any given time they want during prelim CPI month on month. 11:30 for Canada, GDP month on month, and then the US core PCE price index, which is an inflationary figure, and employment cost index QQ. So most definitely on Thursday into Thursday morning early, and then the Eurozone interest rate decision. The euro US dollar is the biggest currency pair in terms of volume that's traded, so it is going to be volatile for the euro dollar, I'm sure, that day. And for all the pairs versus the US dollar in the morning there at 5. So be very much aware that wherever price is going right now isn't necessarily the direction that we'll be going in post FOMC statement. Okay, so you need to be very much aware of what is coming out in regard to interest rates. And of course, as well, the Aussie CPI data coming out there on Wednesday could most definitely affect the Aussie crosses. All right, let's get into the charts. We'll start with the US dollar, which has put in at least a weekly top up here. The weekly trend is actually remaining up in terms of high tops and bottoms. And at the moment, it's having a bounce on the top of this weekly area here. Failed at the 127 extension of this range, and also at the 62% of this range. So the big question is this a minor top or is it a major top? You know, it came in as Trump came into power. So leading into him becoming the president once more, we're moving up. Since he's come in, we've topped out in the short term. Is it a short-term top or a long-term top? That is the question. Now, their trend remains down. There's a minor top here. So we're having a rally at the moment. Are we going to be rallying up to put in a lower top? If we start to see price action that kind of shows that favor, then potentially we could just be continuing down for the rest of the month. Not many days left of this month, but of course, we could put in a further lower top and still put in a fresh low for this month. All right, so bigger time frame trend is up, lower time frame day chart trend is down, and the big question is this top up here that occurred on the 13th, is that a minor top or a major top? S&P 500 did have a sell-off yesterday because of some AI companies come out with some new AI tool or something far cheaper than what's been done by the other AI companies. I think NVIDIA lost quite a substantial percentage yesterday, and we had a big drop down. Did, though, on the S&P 500 get some support ahead of what I class as weekly support here. So pulling back on the day chart here, almost to the 62% level, and then retraced back up. And I did say to look down here last week, so we didn't quite get down there at the moment. That would still be my area to look at. Us being so high up once more now after yesterday, near the all-time high. It's very high up here. You want to be looking to buy a dip. Hopefully some of you were able to buy down here if you had enough nerve, but I would still be watching that level there at 5,881. If it got back down to that area, that could well be the best buying area in the short term. Trend remains up. It's just a question of understanding where it's very high to buy and where it's low to buy within the retracement phase on a pullback, okay? And when we have the interest rate decision on Thursday morning, this could come back down and certainly retest 58.81. Really don't see a downtrend forming here until we trade below this low. So any further movement down here is just the opportunity to buy a dip. Okay, let's get into euro dollar. Now, I'm just monitoring the pullback at the moment. We've been having a move up on the weekly chart, a very substantial move up last week, back above this area here at 104.48. We are back below it today. So we see some selling off through Asia. I don't know whether Trump came out and said something causing that, but we're just retracing some of last week's range, pulling back within the range of last week. Day trend. Now there's a minor range here, higher bottom, higher top. We're just pulling back within that range. It's worth monitoring that range for the idea of buying a dip. And 4 hours down at the moment. So within that range, we're at the 62% level at the moment. We might get a bit more of a deeper dip. I'd be more inclined. We just traded above last week's high up here. With my lesson a couple of weeks ago about the ranges of the week, of the previous week, I like to monitor the previous week's range. Where are we within the range of the previous week? This was a low down here the previous week. And we've only had a 38% pullback. So with lots of news coming out this week, assuming that's an interim weekly top at the moment before news items come out, I'd much prefer to be looking down here at the 62% level or even the 79% level of last week's range. If the market can offer you a a very substantial friendly dip, because if we continue up into February, you obviously want to be buying at a much deeper level if you can. But a couple of ranges to watch. If we're watching the most immediate range from the day chart, it's here. So you could start to focus on, there are some highs over here to the left, and there's more highs here. So this whole area here today, it's worth looking at these. That 4 hour top there, 104.37. If we start to want to get back above there in a lower time frame, and we're just kind of sitting around the 62% retracement here at the moment. Do we start to see some positivity coming in after the Asian sell-off into London? Are we going to be holding here to further move up? I think we haven't been there yet, but 106 is a very clear, strong level of resistance from the higher time frame. So are we going to be seeing a retest of 106? So to the day chart, 106 up to my weekly chart is this monthly area here where we broke below it and it became resistance up here to move down. So following this week's news announcements, will we see a move beyond 106? We could see 106 tested, FOMC release, Eurozone interest rate release. We could certainly see 106 tested this week. If we move up, do we move above 106? I'm in favor of price actually retracing back up within the big range that it's formed here. Could we actually see a move up to the 79% retracement area? We're only really in the early phase of retracing for, back up this range here. So I am long from a bit further down, and I'm hoping this is going to be coming up above 106. But I don't know what news items are going to be coming out and how the market's going to react. So I'm very much aware of where the hurdles are. 106 is most definitely a hurdle. If you're very much stronger on the selling side, you have an opinion that you want to be selling, 106 could quite clearly be strong resistance here. But in the most immediate, I think today, looking at the higher bottom to top, we're just trading within that pullback range. That's my 50-minute chart. We're seeing a little bit of a reversal down here, some 50-minute bottoms coming down here. If we were to see a clear move above this trend line at the moment, that would see, as I say, a move back above 104.37. And that could be then suggestive that we're going to be, at least today, coming up to fill this imbalance here that got formed just after New York close. And if you feel that imbalance, we could well be coming, back up to test the high yesterday. So whilst we're having a day down today, we're definitely seeing some support here. You can see all the 50-minute lows. So are we going to see a move? First of all, moving back above 104.37 is going to start to at least put the intraday bias back into the hands of the buyers. Okay, Euro Yen. It's a little bit consolidatory because we have, until today on the euro dollar. It's been very much, the euro dollar's been moving up, dollar yen's been moving down, so the euro yen's been sideways, and it's a little bit sideways still. The range I want to focus on is last week's range. So if you look at last week's candle where we were very much positively up, I think we may be just trading down within that candle to then move back up. So what I want to do is monitor that range. And as well, we have a higher bottom to a higher top. I don't want to be buying into this resistance up here at 163. I can work out what the exact number is, 163.89. What I want to do, I want to monitor the candle range of last week. Now, you could go draw your fib down from this low, but last week's low was here. Last week's high is there. So I would want to focus on, can price come to the 79% level, hold, and then want to put the low in for this week, the 79% level of last week's candle range, to have another go at 163.89. So I don't want to be buying anywhere near 163.89, but if we could get down to 161.11, approximately 161.100, that would be an area that I would watch intraday for a turnaround. So that would be my area to watch this week. In line with what the price action direction of last week. Euro pound. Last week I was discussing this area for failure with these wicks starting to form. Can't go back into this area now to trade because it's already left the station. But what is happening is on the monthly chart, we've moved back up to monthly resistance area and the 62% area of high to low. And we're false breaking a weekly top here, a weekly reversal. What would be good to look for now is that's last week's high. Drag it down to the new low of this week. Keep dragging it down. It keeps moving down. And look to sell a rally within the fib tool. Would be great if we could come up to 79% level, 84.52, very close to the weekly top at 84.47. But it's a question of trying to sell a rally. Looks like we turned up there. Just back to the day chart one moment. We've just had 1, 2, 3, 4 very negative days down. How many negative days is it going to have down before it has a rally? So you want to let the market have a rally and then look to sell a rally at a 62% level or 79% level. And in this, on this pair, ideally, this keeps moving down at 79% level, would probably overlap this high. And then could rally back up to the 79% level, so you could look to sell against resistance as well. Pound dollar. It's come up. I've been painting in a number of imbalances, just the weekly chart here. First of all, like I was just discussing on the euro dollar, we have this very large range here. After a very significant move down, are we going to have at least a significant rally back up within that range? It could come up to 79% level here. Could want to come up and hold at this top up here. That's if we have a continued move up. Very positive week last week. It is at weekly resistance here at the moment, 124.87. So if we're going to continue, if you're on the buy side, you want price to continue above that area. If you're on the sell side, this would be the area you should be looking at to sell against, to trade down, 124.87. So 124.87 is here. So we did close above it, held on Friday, closed above it yesterday. We're reacting down today. Where does it finish today? You know, if we were to come back up today and close back above that level, that would be closing above there for 2 days. So if we have come up, obviously, to fill this imbalance here, I've got a number of other ones that I'm watching and targeting. I'm trying to target up here. All right. This is in a daily uptrend now. Yes, the bigger trend is down, but the day trend has turned up. Can the market now hold that trend and continue up the range? So I wouldn't want to be buying into this area here, but if I could see something on a lower time frame, today it's reacting at last week's low. It's just starting to break the intraday trend to up here. And like I was just saying on the euro dollar, this imbalance that occurred just after New York close will probably get filled today. So if you could start to see price action here on the 50-minute chart, it's already coming up, but does it come back down and have another dip to put in another higher bottom? Or can you potentially, depending what price wants to do, you could be putting in a smaller fib here. We've just moved up to a higher top here. Does price action now come down to a 62 or 79% retracement? So into this area to hold. Could be buying here to buy a dip intraday, stop below here. Are we going to be coming back up to target 24.87? Now, if we do retest 24.87, if you're much more on the sell side, that is definitely a good level to look to construct a reversal back down if price action wants to do that today. But if you're much more on the buy side, you want to be trying to get in low down within where price has been today. Here, down at the bottom, we have just, let's get rid of these lines, false broke. In fact, it doesn't look like we quite traded below yesterday's low. So yesterday's low has been tested and it's held. So we don't want to go any lower. We don't want to trade below yesterday's low. So we don't want to be any lower than yesterday. So if you're on the buy side, you want to be getting into the buy side as close as you can to yesterday's low, because it's showing you here we don't want to move below there at the moment. So this could be the lowest area of the day. And then are we going to be coming up to retest last week's high? Can we test yesterday's high? All right. So that's popping up. So the euro dollar, it's coming up to try to move back above 104.37 at the moment. We're both going to go the same way. Pound yen. Again, I'm just on the pound yen. It's rather consolidatory here. All yen pairs a little bit consolidation, but we had a very positive week last week. So I will look within the range of last week for a dip. So it looks on the daily. So on the 4-hour, last week's high and low. That's what last week's low there. I'm just going across the candle last week. I like to be a buyer. If my bias is to the upside, I'd like to be buying on a dip within the range of last week. Here's a 79% level, 190.92. So 191 down to 190.92. That would be the area I would watch for a turnaround this week if we could get down there. Looking to buy at a low level within the range of last week. Now, at the moment, we're quite high up within the range. I don't want to buy high up within the range of last week's trading. I want to be buying at a lower level. So I would need to be patient. If it doesn't get down to an area that I'm interested in, I just leave the pair alone. Aussie yen, very range bound. Last week it did come up to test this area of resistance. What I am noticing is that price action broke below this area. Hasn't wanted to quite get up there. So the sellers are in control up here. So if price was to get up to 99.41, that would be an area to watch for price to hold out to trade back down, because that's where we can't get to following a break below. What we're definitely seeing at the moment is a range environment. So I'd want to trade the outskirts. So coming back up to 98.72 this week, or even up to 99, would be where you should look to construct a sell on a lower time frame. So either up here at this level, trade down, or down in this area to trade up. So 95.51, I would say 9600 down to 95.51 is the bottom of the range at the moment. And the top of the range is 98.72 to 99.41. You're going to see that the New Zealand yen is very similar to the Aussie yen as well. All right. And This to me at the moment doesn't look that inviting. It's very range bound. I'd look at a different pair, but if you want to trade it, it is in the range at the moment. So got very rangy up here, drop down, that's rangy here, because Aussie dollar's been moving up, dollar yen's been moving down, so the Aussie yen cross can't find a trend. All right, Aussie dollar. So I've been discussing this whole concept of are we in a range? I am long at 62. I've actually been long twice at 62, got stopped out at break even once. All right, I'm looking to trade up to the top. Now, I don't know if it's going to do that. I did trade down from the top here. Didn't manage to trade it all the way down to the bottom, but I traded down from the top, and now I'm buying, I've bought up close to the bottom. So will this stay within that long-term range? Yesterday, we closed above this weekly area of resistance. Of course, at the moment, we're back below, and we've got the CPI data coming out. Not tomorrow, but the day. Is it tomorrow? Let me just refresh my memory. Coming out tomorrow morning. So it will be volatile for Aussie crosses tomorrow morning. All right, so ahead of that, we're just having a little bit of a trade back down within the range of last week. Just coming down to daily support here. A high that we broke above last week, 62.46. You can see where price is getting support this trading day, 62.46. That's the buyer's level at the moment. You can see the current 4-hour candles hit it, starting to move back up at the moment. So if you're on the buy side, thinking that we're bottoming out at the bottom of the range, this is a buy area today. All right, so a little bit like the pound dollar, it's starting to show you trend line break at support. Support for the pound dollar was yesterday's low. So are we bottoming out here intraday today to move back up? Having just a day down. What's that euro doing? Euro's closed above its trend line break there. Pound closing at the top of its candle as well. Looking a little, everything's looking a little bit like they're reversing back up at the moment, compared to the US dollar. Right, New Zealand yen. This is how I've had it drawn out for a couple of weeks. It's like the Aussie yen, but worse. It's very range bound. I would look to the outskirts, 90.09, 86.71. But up here selling, buying down here. Not very nice price. This has been poor price action on both of these pairs, Aussie and New Zealand yen, since October really, with a little bit of 2-week decline. New Zealand dollar, much like the Aussie yen. Hopefully you can see the range. I actually sold it right in here. Didn't trade all the way down to the bottom, but I got out about here. Is this doing the same thing? Where we had an outside week to put in a bit of a lower top here on the weekly, we actually traded above there last week. So it's kind of flipped the bearish bias to the weekly trend that was down, maybe to the upside here. It's just pulling back within last week's range. Day trend is up. Last week's range, just want to draw it in. Could come down here to the swing point low, but I like to use the range of last week because we often just reacting to the range of last week. Intraday at the moment, this area here is being support with this high over here as well. That high, which was resistance here, is now became support here. And you can see today it's doing the same thing. So whilst I'm monitoring the weekly range, this area is most definitely offering support. 56.48. So for the buyers, that would be the area to watch if it got tested. It's just been a bit short there, so it may not want to get down. And you can even adjust to that high 56.50. Don't think we've been quite down to 50 either, but we've gotten a lot closer to that level. All right, and again, depending on what your favorite whatever your favorite pair of the US dollar is, they are all showing you the exact same trend line break at the moment. So I've got a bit of an inverse head and shoulder pattern forming here just ahead of that 56.50 support level. May well be coming up to fill this imbalance here. And there's also a little bit of imbalance up here that we haven't been back to this week either. So on a personal level, if I wanted to trade this personally, I would look at last week's range, look to the 79% level at 56.09. This is actually a daily low over here, day support low. That would be my primary area. If the news at any given stage this week could get down to 56.07, 5600, that would be a level that I would definitely want to be looking at for a move up. So I've been saying since the start of the year that I thought that maybe the US dollar was going to be putting in a top. I've been getting myself positioned to be trading up on pairs to the US dollar in the hope that the interim top now that we've had made on the dollar index maybe is going to be a longer term top rather than a shorter term top. We'll wait and see whether I'm right or not. Dollar Canadian, nothing's much changing. Just from, this is where I was saying we should be looking to get short up here if we can get another test there. We have the inflation data coming out for the Canadian cross this week. So if we do revisit 144.67, that's the primary sell area at the moment, which is last month's high. And I've been saying from a monthly perspective on the fib tool, we're at the 162 extension, very close to these double tops as well. This is very expensive up here. Doesn't mean to say we can't move above those tops through the course of this year, but right now, just in terms of how price is structured, it's overextended within the fib tool, the 162 extension. It's at a very high price point relative to those two highs. And we're struggling, being very choppy for the last 3 or 4 weeks here in the day chart. This high here is last month's high. So we have traded above last month's high here, but you can see how choppy it is and sideways. Primarily, whilst this isn't textbook to draw a fib, I would draw a fib across like so. And the 79% level is at 144.60. And the monthly high is at 144.67. So my primary area would be, if you get up there, that would be a primary sell area. I would not be buying up here at this high level. If I want to be a buyer long term, I would have to wait for a nice pullback. All right, dollar franc, which has been moving down, moving up today to the highs of yesterday, of Monday and Friday. But there's a little lower top just here. Coming up very close to this day chart resistance. It's old support being resistance now at 90.79. And there's resistance here, there's resistance here, and you can see it's just gotten short of those two price points. So looking for an exact number, I would say 79% level, 90.77, resistance at 90.79. Do we see a spike up into that area? Or do you want to try and trade at these 2 4-hour highs? Looking very much like it's just in rally mode. It's down. We're rallying back to resistance here to come down. So you're going to wait for the highest price point, or are you going to think maybe we may have already topped there today? This is probably doing the opposite to what the pound dollar and euro dollar is doing. We are seeing a trend line break up here. So if the 50-minute chart was to put in a lower top here, that would probably start to say, okay, maybe we're putting in an interim high in for the day. We just, all this price movement back up here is just fill this imbalance here. They got formed yesterday. We're just coming back up to fill the imbalance. So I would start to watch for a lower top to form. Once the lower top starts to come in, then that's going to be a signal that maybe this is the high of the day. Let's trade back down. Okay, dollar yen. Now, with the bodge last week, they did raise interest rates. I didn't really tick up too much though. Couldn't take out this high that we've been putting in. And as I've been saying on major range, this major range here, we're at the 79% area where we've been failing. Now we're moving back below this weekly top here. This week with volatility, last week we came back up to test that weekly top for a lower top. We could, well, if I wanted to get into the dollar yen to the downside here where it's been moving down, draw across that range for our chart. That's last week's high to the new low this week. And we're not that far away from the 79% level at 156.09. And for our top there, that would be the area that I would look at if I wanted to get short. If I wanted to wait for the FOMC and allow the volatility of the market to pass before engaging this week, I would look to see if price can come up to 156.74 and fail. Or even slightly higher. Last month's high is up here, LMH, last month's high at 158.07. We held there for more than a few days before moving down. The volatility of the market could get price to be driven up there this week. Of the bigger range, the 79% level is at 157.76, and your monthly high from the previous month is at 158.07. So two areas. Smaller range, well, the larger range would obviously be here, 157.76 to 158.07. And if we're going to remain within this last week's range, I would say 156.09 area up here. Selling high up within the range of last week. It's difficult this week with news. Price will probably not get anywhere near 158 ahead of the news on this pair, but it could get there with the volatility of the news Thursday morning. All right, just finish on gold, which has been reaffirming its major monthly trend here. Had 1 month down and entered an intro month, inside month to the previous month, last month, and then we're up. So this is really a higher bottom form in the monthly charts. This is all uptrend. Weekly trends turn back up after going sideways, and the daily's up. So the buying level really is a break above this weekly 27.26 level. I think through the week, that would be the level to watch. Any pullback, watch that broken area of resistance. 62% level here, 27.26, 20.27.6 high here as well. That's the area to watch for a pullback now. Don't want to be buying into this high, the all-time high that was. Hope we had a new high. Oh, it's still the all-time high. So don't want to be buying into 27.90, but buying a dip, 27.26 is where we've moved above. That should be support. Okay, that would be the area to watch for a continued uptrend. Of course, this is going to be affected by the FOMC statement. So as a trader this week, you're going to have to work out where are my key levels? What is the trend? Where are my key levels for the week? Am I able to get into a position maybe today where I can be maybe hopefully well ahead by FOMC? Or do I just want to work out where my levels are for the week and wait for the FOMC to pass and then see if I can construct a trade after that? And of course, we've got the Eurozone interest rate decision as well on the same Thursday. But This is, of course, it's going to be affected by whatever happens on FMC. All right, I'm just going to wrap it up. I just want to see what the euro dollar is doing. It is above that trend line. Pound dollar is above its trend line. Aussie dollar is closing above its trend line as it bottomed at 62.46 and has the New Zealand dollar bottom down there today at 56.50 or just short of it. All right, so in the middle of London at the moment, have we maybe put in the low of the day? Are we going to be moving back up on these pairs? So, within a trend, so let's go back to the euro dollar a moment. Whilst we're having a day down today on the euro dollar, just to the daily. Now we had 1, 2, 3 days up here, 1 day down. 1, 2 days up here, 1 day down. Price never just keeps going one direction without backing up or rallying 1 or 2 days. So we're in an uptrend here on the day chart. These highs here on the euro that we took out 2 days ago, it would be nice today, see how we're reacting potentially off that high today. 0437, that was the level I gave you before, is as long as we're closing above these highs, or certainly the 10437 high today, there's every chance tomorrow we're going to have a day up. So trying to be a buyer low down today, this could be the low of the week. So if you can see you're set up to be a buyer today, if this is a low of the week, stop below a low, as long as that's not tested, could be the low of the week, and you've got the whole rest of the week for the potential price to move up then to its high of the week. All right. All right, I'll leave you with that. If you want to join me tomorrow, I'm going to be going through, there's a webinar link at the top. Going to be going through tomorrow, introduction to price action trading and understanding market structure. So give you a lesson on that. We'll get to the live charts and I'll talk about the structure I'm seeing. I've been talking about the structure I'm seeing today on a lot of the pairs like the Aussie dollar and the New Zealand dollar. Long-term structure is maybe still long-term channel. Have we bottomed at the bottom of the channel to move up? If you want to join me tomorrow, I can discuss market structure in more detail in that lesson. All right, thanks everybody. If you want to join me, just head over to the webinar page, register interest, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Other than that, I will be back next week, again next Tuesday for more analysis. If you want to join me there at the start of February, which will be February the 4th. All right, everybody, thanks very much. Be very much aware of the news items coming out for the week. As I said, the FMC is coming out Thursday early morning. It'll be very volatile then, so just make sure you're managing your risk in these volatile times. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.